We've officially started recording.
Lovely.
Lovely. We got Scott so far, just Scott and I. I know Johnny said he wanted to, but it seems like he hasn't seen it or responded yet, so we're in the general chat. People might jump in, so nothing wrong with that. Right now, the games aren't actually up on YouTube. It is just two files that we had from, I believe, Mike Long's phone. But so I'm just gonna go through the first half and then the second on here, and I'm gonna put up this video first. But if I have time, I'm probably gonna try to do edit a video of your guys' game as well, just to put it up and have it be up on YouTube like normal.
Sure.
But we shall see how that goes.
Yeah. So it was the first point, right? Because I think we
Yeah.
received.
Exactly. So that's what I was just gonna say. Is the very first point, but it was a little late because the camera was all messed up. So I believe it was literally right after pool. I think you guys just grabbed it and someone caught it, put it to Pat, and then Pat just threw it to Allison, and she's got it. And that's, I believe, the start of it. So I guess just hop into it. But I have the music very quiet in the background, so people might hear it. Scott can't, but that is that.
Okie dokie.
And then, yeah, April.
Try my best to focus on
April, goodness gracious.
happening.
Angel was the one that was recording, so her voice pops in every so often as well.
Oh, sure. Seems like
Yeah.
you're doing a great job so far. This is probably the best point you played all game, just in terms of being
that was-
patient and working it up slowly. We didn't really do this for the entire rest of the game.
That was exactly going to be like my very first point was that, because I don't know if this is going to go away. That's annoying. But
Like that team would be not fun to play against, but I'm not sure how often that team shows up.
yeah, because Dan and I were the ones taking score for this one and doing stats, so I remember that exact thought. I was like, damn, that was just like patient and well-oiled, good high percentage passes. That's like textbook stuff that you want to see.
And a lot of it's honestly my fault. You'll see later in the game, I think I had 4 or 5 throwaways. I made a conscious decision. We were down 10-7 in the second half. I said, all right, I'm not doing anything dumb for the rest of the game. And then we had a 6-point comeback to win 13-10. I'm not saying it's 100% my fault, but like the data definitely points in that direction.
Nah,
We're not too close to dark.
that's just a focus thing.
Yeah.
Especially if you actually said that, then it helps the rest of the team focus and stuff.
Mhm.
You matched up on Elliot. I didn't even realize that in the.
I do it
Live.
a couple times. I don't mind it as much if him and Paul and Joe are off the field, but when all 3 of them are in, I don't really know like where the disc can be coming from. It's really tough. if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, definitely. Especially because that gives Elliot. Oh, did Aaron get a piece of that?
Ooh,
Maybe.
nice D.
Yeah. Angel just said nice D, so probably. But yeah, exactly. If Elliot, if it has to run through Elliot, it's not so bad. But if it doesn't, and he gets to just like have free reign, it's way harder.
Ooh.
Classic Paul team
Nice
hammer.
Alright.
Honestly, another thing I was thinking is I don't know how much lower the ceilings are in this field. Everyone says it. I personally don't experience it because I don't throw that high. But like, if that's actually true, I think that definitely helped us against this team because this is probably the one team that pushes the height limit most frequently.
No, that's definitely true.
Hammers, I think they hit the ceiling, honest to God, 3 or 4 times this game too. So
And that was
definitely
something we mentioned in the podcast. We were like, oh, it's going to be interesting, especially with Joe and his hammers. But, speaking of, nice little
Maybe
hammer right
Shark's
there.
got that hammer once in a while. I don't know where it comes from or where it goes, but it's pretty solid.
Agreed. It's kind of fun watching some people who like don't normally throw things like that in like pickup and whatnot do it in indoor. And I think it has to do a little bit with the competitive, like, you know, I just want to win. And then also it's indoor. So it's like
It's indoor,
lot
slightly
easier.
throw. I think also plus with the smaller field, you can't just throw 6-yard forehands up the line the entire time. You know, eventually
Exactly.
you're more likely to have to do something like that.
But that was the other thing I planned on doing is if I noticed any sort of teaching points, I might stop it to throw it out there. But we'll see.
There's definitely one point later where I have a couple questions, probably in the last 15 minutes of the game, but for sure, for the most part.
Oh,
Yeah, they just had a couple.
what even happened there? Sorry, I just did he?
I think he maybe misjudged it. They misjudged each other's intent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe he thought someone was closer, like he heard Pat. But
Right.
yeah, it's a bummer.
I gotta throw this away here. No, I don't. I reset it.
Nice, good choice. Oh,
Ooh, that was such a nice throw. To just
yeah.
let the
This
crowd
might be
go for it.
a mini teaching point. That was a little far, but gives me time to get my pen. So you reset it here, and then Mike, this is mostly at you, but people in general, it was quick, and honestly, that's not so bad. Because Joe really is very open here.
So open, and it really is like 3 inches too high.
Yeah, the throw itself wasn't so bad. I mean, indoor, whatever, it's bladey, it's gonna work. That's fine. But the main teaching point, I guess, is just in general this sort of thing where, of course, I do that. You're over here on this like half of the field, or quarter at least of it, and you're trying to throw it across to somebody else, especially outdoor with a sort of blade kind of floaty. A, that leaves a chance for the wind to take it, and then B, it takes so much longer to get over like all the way across this travel path than you think it does. So it's just one of those points where like he may be open, but the opportunity for, even Elliot, fast person, get up there. We don't see who's over here, but somebody coming in over here. It's just a lot easier to defend something like this rather than, wait a second, see if Pat comes back for a strike or whatever. It's just kind of this one in particular worked because he was so open and he threw it so quickly, but just in general.
It was still a turn, but yeah.
Yeah, well, right, like exactly. It's not the worst decision in this one scenario, but this kind of concept happens a lot where people are like, "Oh, I'm going to throw it across the field, downfield," and it's like, might not be the best idea. But yeah, it throw itself totally fine. Joe almost had it. Was kind of just backpedaling there. That'll happen. Oh, and thank you, Pat. I noticed that, and I was like, "Oh God, someone's gonna die."
Reset to Elliot. Lots of space. It's Joe in the center. Goes big at Jan.
To the wall.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, she was gonna shoot.
Got
Yeah.
the height mismatch. Jan's got good read. It just needed to go left instead of right, probably. We're a little hesitant on our reset sometimes.
Yep, that was gonna be
to go for that throw instead of the easier one to pass.
exactly. I know.
I was kind of an arm punt there that happened to work out, although we might still turn it. I don't remember for sure.
I don't either. I think you score it, but it's a good reset. Way to be patient. Look there. Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
D.
yeah. Oh,
I mean, you can honestly see like a night and day difference between what
Nice.
points where we're patient and points where we aren't. Because every single time we throw it, we do a good job of not turning it too much like on our half of the field. But just when we get into the own zone, we try and force some stuff for sure.
yeah. That's definitely, and that's something I noticed too. Is like the double side of that coin, where you're hesitant to throw those unders or the resets, but yet at the same time, and not this wasn't you. Sorry, I just said you, but like people in
Oh
general.
yeah, like roll you.
Yeah. Or they're hesitant to throw like the unders or the resets, but then they're pretty quick or like haphazard or trigger happy, I guess, about throwing it deep to something that they see that they think might be open. And that's one of those like comes with experience to figure out what actually is open, but also just in general, patience is usually better. Not as flashy, but more successful.
We also tried a.
That's tough, yeah.
Also tried to do a vert stack at this point instead of just the side stack, which I
Okay.
think worked out well because we were able to do some more break throws.
Yeah, so are you guys been doing side stack pretty much exclusively?
We have, yeah. And then we faced Kai's team, and they kind of forced us back into the stack, which like broke our brains a little bit. So we
Yep.
decided to just go for the vert stack so we can kind of do whatever.
I like side stack as a offense. It's just really tough in indoor because what happened?
I would assume pick called.
Yeah, that's. I could boost the volume and try to listen, but I think Pat was explaining a pick.
I think they're talking about even though it didn't affect.
No
us,
effect, so nobody
yada,
moved.
yada, yada.
Yeah, yep. But yes, so the side stack indoor is just like upsetting. Yeah, that was a good cut by Elliot. Way to recognize that. But it's just tough because there's the like idea that you're giving yourself way more space, and you are. But the second that any team realizes what you're doing, a side stack indoor is so easy to poach off of, or at least just throw even like, you know, a little clamp or whatever, some small little bracket type defense that just shuts down the first play, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, oh god, what do I do? So it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, but to your point, it is just hard to play any kind of offense on this field because of how constricted the space is. You have to be a lot more precise and like clean with your cuts and your movement. You can't just run in a straight line every single time and get open reliably. For the most part.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing about not hesitating for those unders and resets. Even if it moves the disc 10 feet, that's way better. Get some disc moving. Oh, nice. Yeah, good patience there, Allison. That was, both Andy and Pat had cuts that you probably could have thrown to, but it was smart not to because it was defended heavily. Just you knew that they were going to make some cuts and get open. Is good. Oh, yeah. Let's see if this is too far. Oh, perfect. Two bricks in a row. Mark's going to be eating it up on those. I love seeing throws like that indoor.
It's such a nasty throw. That like weird bladey forehand from like that angle.
And that's also, as evidence there, pretty tough to catch. So
That's true. That's true.
there you go. Looking at those resets. Love it.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
nice. Conservation of greatness.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got a lot there.
Bird.
That's how Joe had it, and I assumed it was going to be a hammer, so I went left
Yep.
on right.
One-on-one deep defense is so difficult, man. It's just like
It's something that I especially struggle with, and it's not like there's the whole I'm not great at jumping. That's for sure part of it. I just never am in a good position because I have no idea at like being aware of where the disc is coming from to even know where to stand to put myself in a good position. And you have like, a tenth of a second to react and make it all happen.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
think part of
that
it is just play more and be more aware, but it's something for sure that I need to work on.
Yeah, field sense definitely comes with time, but it's also like, yeah, it's just hard. I mean, And
I
especially
have no idea, absolutely no idea how that
how
didn't
that didn't hit the net. Yeah.
I thought for sure it did. Even in game, like I stopped walking and set up on defense because I was thinking like, yeah, that's a turn, and then we turned anyways. But
So got to pick on Pat since he's one of the more experienced ones. He sees this and he throws this fake to Allison because she's coming, and that's fine because this little window that he was attempting to is very tough. But I'm pretty surprised that he goes for that instead of trying to take that little step around. This is one of those like target locked kind of hesitation things because he throws that, but right around into here. I mean, he knew that Jackson was well trailing, so take that 1 extra second, reset, step around. He would have had her.
arm punt.
Yeah.
Made sure he rolled it so he got the full distance out of it. Center the disc. Alright, little clog there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's tough. Again, one of those kind of target locked.
Tried to embrace my inner Kai there and throw and go.
Yeah, no, that was fine. It was the
Yeah.
throw from Tim.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh.
Oof, it works.
Man, there's been so many of that. Just so close.
Yeah.
That was a good hammer cut.
I've got a theory. And my theory is that sometimes teams will complain or say something along the lines of, we're just making a lot of drops. We're just dropping. Like, we didn't drop the disc so much, we would have been right in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of the times those drops come from having to throw through tight windows because of good defense. Your team just didn't decide that they're going to drop the disc this week most of the time. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, that's absolutely part of it. Making the team throw a harder throw.
I'm not necessarily saying that in this game specifically, but that's like a consistent thing that you hear from teams from time to time. And I don't know, to the extent that we care about getting better, it somewhat pushes off the
like responsibility.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. That is definitely a good point. It's also just kind of like human nature. People don't want to admit that they're wrong. Let's see. All right.
People are getting less scared of
Catching
the upside down backhand specifically.
Yeah.
I think it's mad because everyone was so scared of it, but now it's become a little more common.
I think it just got to come in hot, and if it's coming in hot, it's still scary. But if it's kind of like floaty, it's like, I can get it.
There we go. Great cut there, Joe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was good patience.
Looks off the reset. Hits Andy in the center, though. That'll work.
Yeah, there you go.
In the end zone. That was nice and patient.
Exactly, and you scored.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I'm also off the field.
No.
There's got to be a coincidence there.
Now, if you did some like mark stats and went crazy about it and figured out percentage while you were on or percentage while you're off, then maybe I'd be inclined.
I mean, I didn't sit much this game, so it's probably pretty similar to the overall game percentage, but it is definitely I really wanted that deed, but not yet.
Ooh.
I don't know how I missed that. I think I was too
yeah.
or something.
Well, you were a little scared of. There's like 4 people converging right there, so. Oh, here's a. Wow, good cut. Oh wait. Oh, this doll. I think that it might actually have been a stall. But before we get
We were
into
pretty
that,
good about stalls this game. There's a lot of stalls this game, a lot of high stall count points on both teams. I think both teams had multiple stalls against them.
yeah, agreed. But right before we get into the stall, which we'll actually go back and time it with real time to see. But this is a good teaching moment from both Pat and you, actually. But I was focusing a little bit on Pat as far as like an example of good defense, particularly from the handle set. So Elliot's setting up here. Granted, he is a little bit ahead, you'll see, of the set. But Pat is setting up to defend Elliot as if he was a handler. And so what he's doing is he ends up putting his butt away from him and facing him almost entirely, just head on directly, and kind of keeping a triangle with him, the disc, and Elliot. And what he does very well here is basically by facing Elliot, he's imposing this just like artificial wall that means like you have to go through him in order to actually get the space that he would want to score it. So he sets up here and he's defending this whole space. And you see Elliot even made a little bit of a jump in, like, oh, I'm going to try to go strike. But Pat was totally blocked off there and had his, athletic sideways position to say, like, no, like, you're going to have to go through me to do that. And so Elliot, quickly made a cut and turned back. So that's really good D. That's definitely like what you want to kind of do as far as end zone D, but also handler D, just to kind of force the player to go through you in order to get to where they want to get. And, maybe they'll still try, and you're going to end up being able to make a play, or at least say that you played good D, or you don't. And not to necessarily pick on Mike, but that's kind of what ends up happening, where he doesn't have that same setup. You see he's focused here much more on Jan, and he's right kind of next to him, which we do teach as pretty good D for in the middle of the field. But in this case, when you're defending, when the space that you really don't want to give up at all, let's give a nice good red, is this strike kind of to the cone. That was so terrible. But this whole area, you just do not want this to go up. This is where they're forcing, and this is where it's easy to go. So both you and Pat here are making nice little, no, can't go through here, no, can't go through here. And ideally, you'd want to see Mike sort of step around a little bit right here so that he then sets up his own wall and says, no, can't go through here either. But
my guess is he's somewhat worried about, he wants to be a little more towards the center because he's worried about the hammer or the,
one of these, 100%.
Or whatever.
Yeah,
which is like a much more reasonable fear indoors.
Absolutely. And I'll mention that, right up top here too, is when you pause stuff like this and do game film, it's obviously so much easier to see everything that's going on and have hindsight 2020 of like where things are moving or where stuff's developing. And it's way harder to see that in game. So like Mike didn't play bad D here. I'm just saying, giving examples of like what is good D and what maybe to try to look for next time. But yeah, so that's what happens here. And, Aaron does make a nice little step out there too. So Mike's kind of flat footed and then boom, goes for it. So good play all around by them. And just out of curiosity, let's see if this is a stall. I have a feeling that it was. Okay. So he grabbed it right at 23. So 30 would be the stall. Yep. So that's extremely close. And that's one of the things I'll mention again too, is if you ever use video like this to be like, oh, it was like, try to go frame by frame or something and see what the actual release time was and all that. That's not how it works. The whole point of stall is that it's, one-on-one, it's in-game, is real time. You are supposed to say stall and then like pretend that you're saying stall in between each count, because that way it is as close to 1 second as possible. But this was clearly within a second of real time. So in my opinion, that's definitely a stall, just because, she may have started saying stall like a second before he caught it, or she even got to say like right as he was throwing it. So in my opinion, that is a stall. And I think that's what think that's what comes up, but
Yeah.
Is there a call?
or I think it was contested, but let's see.
Honey. I don't even know what's going on. It's hard to hear with this music under me.
Seems to be some amount of
Yeah,
discussion. They
yeah.
do give it back, and they award it to us.
Contested, yeah. Okay, that's fine too.
Contested stall comes in at stall 5, I believe, in our
Yeah, that's what we decided.
Yeah.
Normally you drop it 3, I believe. But that's what happens.
So I knew the second that it was coming back in that they were going to Paul with the hammer there.
The hammer, yeah. So, and that like I was just explaining, that would be a good contest on your end as well, Jan, just because it was, I mean, literally within a second. So like,
This is Beefcake, not Jan.
yeah, oh yeah, no, I was sorry.
No,
I was,
sorry. In the chat is Beefcake. My bad.
but correct, Beefcake, you did just join. So what's up? If you're trying to talk, that's fine. I see you're muted currently, but if you just want to listen, that's also totally fine.
Ooh, look at that.
Which I think is what it is. But
That
is
one
that just?
hurt.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That one hurt.
Is that just
Andy
a good?
clears out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's by you. Honestly, that's fine. You saw him clearing out. You saw Paul going.
Yeah.
That's just pretty good. Oh, that's just pretty
one.
good D by Paul. Heads up and saw it and pushed for it.
Fan today.
But yeah, there's that ceiling. I don't know how much shorter it is. It certainly is shorter, but I don't know how much.
Mhm.
Fireball. Get there.
Ooh, a rare
Kind of-
misjudge from Elliot.
Yeah. Also, our Pat's flailing arms made him mystified.
Yeah. Nice little lead there.
Beautiful. You like it, Scott? Yep.
Oh. Yep. I remember that. That's just so unlucky.
Hey, yo.
Didn't touch.
Pat, again, back to the whole like
Score.
drops aren't always just random luck. Pat seems to get a lot of those lucky catches.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not sure it's always luck.
Yeah, exactly. Right, because it's Pat. Like, you know, it's like that's another thing that people say all the time about like good players in any sport. They're just like, oh, like he gets so lucky all the time. It's like definitely sometimes, and that is part of it. But like, if they're a good player, it's probably because they're doing something right.
Mm.
But yeah, that was good. The throw itself was another kind of thing that I was saying with Mike, where you know Andy was pretty much pinned at the wall, not quite, but a few steps off, and you know tried to throw a blade all the way to Pat. It's gonna be tough. It's just easy to defend, tough throw. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Right, off the line. And he's playing maybe a little bit close there, preventing
Yeah.
full around.
Yep.
Which
Well,
I
pause it.
definitely have a tendency to do too when I get tired for whatever reason, playing a little more intensely.
Hammer too. I don't know.
Nice.
Scott got
That's a Matt Peterson D right there.
He chased it down.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not very much for commentating.
I know you can't hear it, Scott, but Fireball is playing and Angel is just humming and singing to it. It's pretty funny. Oh, yeah, got a little scared of the wall on that one, probably.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Ooh, forcing wall.
Honestly, if I
That
did not
one,
have the camera,
I did hit his pinky on that one, so it
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
foul. Anyways, it was very close, but I did make some pinky contact. Maybe it was just ring finger. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I'm noticing it, and probably the next time that somebody's got it and Andy stalls out, if it's a good angle, I'll stop
I
it.
should have called the pick there. Absolutely should have called the pick there.
Yeah, I wasn't. Oh, that's the wrong button.
Because watch what happens.
Okay, so you
So
go there.
I follow Joe
Oh,
and
yeah.
all the way around. I lose like 3 yards on him, and then he makes that big catch.
Right, because then he had to go up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably true. He did kind of run right next to him. I don't know. Those are always so hard because like.
Right, and that's why I didn't call it in the moment, because like it probably doesn't matter until it matters.
Right, and it's also like he technically like. I don't know. It's still a pick though, because your path is what matters,
I'm
not
within
his.
10 feet of him, whatever, with him as my
Right,
mark. So I
right.
had to adjust my path because of the route he took. So it's, but you know.
Yep.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
That happens, probably 3 times a game, and it's not always a big gain. So I don't call it as often as I probably should.
Yeah, exactly. That happens all the time.
But nothing feels worse than like just getting absolutely beat because like a mental mistake like that. Like I didn't call a pick. It's not like I necessarily played that wrong. It's just,
right. Or it got like actually beat, but you just
Right.
didn't like, Yep.
Exactly. I think we're in a bit of a time crunch here.
Yeah, it's getting down to the end of the half. I know.
I was wanted to hit Patrick back. I did not want to have to make this throw. Oh no, this isn't the last point of the half. Never mind. I was wrong. Misremembered the situation. This one I threw away.
Yeah, that was
Not
a good.
chance that I make a pass here.
Oh,
Yep.
That was a good first hesitate though, and that was just pretty good D from Elliott. I mean,
Yeah. So that's 2.
Oh yeah, get it, Aaron.
yeah. I mean, honestly though, both of them weren't like. Ooh, that was a good uncommunicated roll there from you two.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it was communicated, but it didn't look like it.
It's the kind of thing that like I
It's okay,
am
Jack.
familiar enough with now to do sometimes if the person I'm playing with is also familiar-ish with it.
Right.
20
But there's
seconds.
definitely a never been like formally taught it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we're in a time crunch situation.
Yeah,
I wanted
someone's
Pat to take
counting it
a shot,
down.
and then he goes deep, and then
Yeah. That's all right. Yeah, the buzzer just went right there. So, yep. And that's I believe I didn't call that a turn from your end because I know Kevin and I are of the same mind. I don't know if other people are, but literal buzzer beaters like that we just don't call because
Right.
I mean, like in a real normal time situation, you're not going to throw that. Like that's just kind of being silly. So, all right. So that's the first one. Let me.
Oh, Beefcake left.
Yeah, he sent in the thing. He said that he's at work and his connection is terrible, so
Oh, gotcha.
didn't want to go for it. Oop. Into the second half.
Second half, throwing off to Pat's team, even score, 5-5, close game,
Put on the other.
low scoring game
Focus.
through 25 minutes.
Yeah, very low. The first half being 5-5 is like I don't know if
It's
I've
tough
actually
to-
ever seen that.
Tough to say if it's good defense or bad offense here, but it's certainly something.
Probably a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Probably, yeah.
The only thing I noticed in that first half was a ton of blades just from everybody. Like there were a lot of
They does not wanna focus.
not traditional throws, which again, to your point, could just be good D that forcing those happen. Angel is commenting on how it's focusing on the net, and she's trying to fix it,
Focus on
but
the people, not
it's pretty hard to make it do that. So
Right. So we got him stuck.
Okay, I'm
Or no,
gonna
that
throw
one
away
did hit the
before that
wall.
one.
And Jan didn't think it did, but it absolutely hit the wall. So we're convinced he needs to center it. And this is another thing that I am curious about. I was of the impression that if you hit the wall behind the break mark, you just centered it, not took it at the break mark.
So all
So
right, let
I'm
me see.
confident that's how we played it last year.
Oh yeah, that definitely hit the wall. But so there's some argument about just for indoor. The way that actual like rules work is anything that lands out of bounds is a brick. It doesn't matter. You could boost out the back, it's a brick. It doesn't wherever it goes. If it's out of bounds when it lands, it's a brick. So that's the thinking here is that wall is out of bounds, therefore hits the wall, it's brick. But Yeah, I mean, for indoor specifically, there's some argument about centering it, just because like I don't know, it's hard to do that, and
I mean,
like
it doesn't matter to me. I don't know if that's a rule we consistently apply. And the other thing that I get constantly confused with on polls is some teams are playing with the net as part of the ceiling and taking it at half field if the disc hits the net off of a pole.
like this net that we're seeing here.
Yeah, it happened I think twice in our game versus Kyle, one for both teams.
Yeah, no,
And
that's I
that
mean,
was my first time having ever played that rule, and I'm not sure if either we didn't communicate it well or if that's a common rule elsewhere or what exactly the situation is.
yeah, no, I would say that that's not like wall is just the wall, like it's out of bounds, so it would
Yeah.
be wherever it landed, but yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know, but yeah, centering it definitely a good call.
Okay, I'm getting further away from what I want. I am trying.
Angel's really struggling with this focus.
I think I told him, hey, if you want to take out the wall, I'm not going to stop you, but it definitely hit the wall.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And this is the nastiest throw of the whole game. Step out, lefty backhand,
kind of nice shape to it. Yeah,
Nice.
that's very good. That makes me happy to see too, because we've been trying to get Jan to do lefty pulls or lefty hawks for like ages, and he's just barely starting to. But I hope indoor gives him the confidence to do it.
Maybe if I try zooming.
Oh,
That was not a fun way to start the half, though, just getting scored against in one throw. No, that's
yeah.
okay.
Let's see. Somebody got it and centered it to Pat.
Fine. I mean, the center, they're playing a little. I think they played a zone on this point. They didn't really come back to it for the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we scored here, but also I think we played well against the zones. They might have abandoned it, or maybe they were just practicing it or something and decided they wanted to focus more on winning the game. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a zone.
What a snare.
I love playing against zones on offense. It's just so fun to like be patient and carve it up.
It
Yeah.
makes me so nervous at like, because I've never really played frisbee at a high level. So I just any level I've ever played frisbee at, it's always just a matter of time. Like if you have to complete 30 throws, even if you're just like playing catch, eventually someone's gonna drop something or like make a bad throw or something. That's what makes me the most nervous about playing against the zone.
That's fair. The thing about it though is like the thought behind that is more of like it's 30 throws, but they're all like 5 yards or less, and they're like back to the same person back and forth, like stuff like that. So it's a lot less. Oh geez, it's a lot less risky and more likely that people will actually not drop it and be successful with it. So
I guess it's not in.
hey, there you go.
And I threw this one away.
How'd you do that?
Oh my goodness. I actually remember this point because I was taking stats and Dan and I were just like, what the hell just happened? We had to do like 8 different things all at once.
Nice.
That was we were kind of talking during the first half of that, but that was a brutal interaction at the other end of like me trying to contort to catch it backwards behind Elliot and then failing to do it, and then they hammer it up the field, hammer it again, it's not in, throw it again, it's not
It's
in.
still not in.
Get the
Yeah.
turn, immediately throw it away, and then they score.
Yep.
I needed to sit after that point. That was a lot for little old Scotty Masteller.
That is definitely a tough one to see.
Because not only was it an ugly point, but a lot of it was like specifically ugly for me.
Yeah, right. It happens. That's what a big part of any sport. You just gotta kind of.
Yeah.
It's in the past now. Get on with it.
Mr.
Yeah, sure enough, I'm off the field at this point.
How do you? Excuse me.
Ooh, Joe clogging up a little bit there.
Nice.
Allison clutches the reset well, right back
Yep.
there, little bounce. Good reset. Timothy coming around break side. Mike Long in the center. Wants the reset again. Gets it.
Oh, that's just
Ooh.
upsetting. Yeah,
Unfortunate.
not bad all around though. That was pretty good patience. Tons of resets, and that's absolutely fine. Gets people moving.
I know my people.
Yeah, there you go. That's why you always go to.
Ooh.
Yep. Reset to Timothy. Michael Law, who fakes the dish. Actually dishes it. Big brain move. Bleed
Nice.
Where's it going? Where's it going? To Allison.
So I think at this point it's 7-6.
I think that's that's right. Yep. Angel just said it. 6-7.
Yeah. I don't think my team scores for a while now, and I'm curious to watch it back and see what actually happened, what we were doing wrong. All right. So break side forehand.
My foot itches. On to the next point.
Lefty backhand.
Yeah. But it was the correct
Oh, that
force
was
still.
a disgusting throw. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Look at that shit.
yeah, and that's good cut by Aaron there. Way to peel off.
Excuse my
Yeah.
language.
I almost ran into Joe, so I wasn't like set to put the force on him right away either.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well. That was such a nice throw by Elliot, though. Like that high release.
Yeah,
behind
floaty right over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I always say it, but everything he does is just silky. Like it's just so like.
Yeah. There's
easy.
a like the couple like professional frisbee players I've played with or around or whatever, they have kind of like a smoothness to the way they throw and the way they move when they're
Hey yo.
when they have the disc in their hand, as far as positioning and stepping out and all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And not too many people in our league has it. Probably Kevin, Kai, and like Patrick sometimes,
That was on BO.
but like Elliot for sure has it.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's definitely a thing, and it comes a lot more with handlers. There's a lot of really high level people who don't have it and are still very good, but handlers in particular are just like, I don't know, it's fun to watch. Oh, almost had it, Joe. Oh, got an angry Joe. But Ross has joined us.
What's up, TJ?
What up, Ross?
Are you guys doing your commentary?
Yeah,
Sure.
Sick.
you're making the guest appearance.
I am the guest appearance.
I'm merely just talking shit about myself, which is probably actually be really annoying for everyone else.
No, it's fine. It's we're, as you can probably see, about 9.5 minutes into the second half. So
This was a good game.
yeah, did you watch this one at all?
I was there watching it. I
Yeah.
was like on the sideline basically.
Nice. Dan, now we're doing score and stats, so
hmm
it's kind of fun to come back and rewatch it from like this angle and not while I'm trying to do stats. You get to like see more about the game.
Bone burner.
I'm not out of breath or anything. I can do this.
I don't know why I didn't just give
Andy
it.
should have cut back there.
Yeah, that's hard to.
Ooh.
That space definitely should have been attacked.
A little bit of a straight up force. Finds
I
Anderson.
like that. I like that.
Okay.
Said they appreciate
Okay, so this right here.
I'm just assuming that they
All right,
find
this
anybody.
is the part that I had a question about. Can you go back and pause it when I catch the disc?
Yep. When you catch,
So
I can try.
I guess Mike and I were somewhat of a disagreement about what I should have done here, because typically, like, you look at your handler, it's like their job to get open, right?
Yes. So what they call that is addressing the handler.
Right.
And that is definitely something that is kind of taught, where typically what somebody will do when they catch it is, look downfield for a couple seconds, whatever it is, to see if there's any stuff, or just notice that there's not. And then, yeah, what you want to do is basically just like make it pretty known with your, body language and your eyes to your handler that you're like, I'm focused only on you and literally I'm throwing it to you or I'm not throwing it at all. And if
So
that's, yeah, go ahead.
and that's something that I am not good at. So if you watch what happens here, if you play it, I catch it, I look up field,
Hmm.
nothing. I look at Andy, he's covered. I look at Mike, there's no clear path to get him the disc. I think I take another look at Patrick, and like no one's really even moving in the backfield for me to like, who do I lock eyes with here?
Right.
So in that situation, do I need to just choose someone if I'm on like stall 3, or like what's the play here? What am I supposed to
Yeah. So you definitely did the thing, like, what they say with quarterbacks of like your check downs. So like you went up and then, like you said, you went to Andy, could tell that, Aaron was right there. It's a really hard thing right at the wall. Not really going to work. And then he kind of stays in this spot. So it makes it hard for you to still get through to Mike, and Mike's pretty far away. But, what I would probably do here, especially if you're just like, mentally saying like, I'm going to just reset it or center it, which is a good call because
This is before I said that. Or sorry, yeah. So I wanted to reset. I did not want to throw up field in this position.
right.
My goal was to center the disc. That's 100% like I'm face backwards for 6 of the 7 stalls in this like possession.
Hmm. So there's like two kind of sides to this. One is you probably could say like, Andy or Mike, like literally just say it out loud, or like even, if you have better chemistry, do something like use your forehead and like your eyes or whatever to just like, yes, you.
Mhm.
Um or and just say like, go strike, or like I'm need you or whatever, or something like that, or trying to center it or whatever works. And then it is on them. So that's the other half. Is both of these guys are not in great antler positions here. They're significantly far from the disc itself. And then Andy's directly behind you, which is a tough position to go into, and Mike's in an okay angle, but like I said, I mean this is literally like 20 yards away. It's a little too far. So it's probably on them to get a little closer, and preferably what you would want to see in this situation, especially once someone's addressed, is Mike's probably somewhere like actually where Jackson is here,
Mhm.
and you're able to kind of see him, and then Mike can like maybe take a few little hesitate steps forward to get his defender kind of backpedaling, and at that point he just decides either he's dipping his shoulder and he's going to strike, or he's going like not necessarily moving, but he's telling you like throw it over here, so then you can throw it into space either back or around or whatever, and he can just chase it down.
Right.
Those are the two ideal ways. But I think what you did here, let me clear this. I think what you did here is probably what you had to, because like you said, you couldn't really get through. And
I mean, if I had stayed backwards for half a second, I still could have hit Mike because he does get open.
right,
This like the
he
second I
does
look him off.
he does make that thing. So yeah, maybe just stick with him for a second longer, because he did make that cut. But
Like I did not want to throw a throw into a 3-yard window against the wall like I did there.
yeah, and then that's the other thing is
I knew that when I was in that situation. It's like this is not what I want to do.
right.
Like I didn't like for the split second I was looking backwards. No one was moving, so I didn't think I had a choice.
That's I totally get that. But they do need a little bit of time to like recognize.
I get it.
But Mike, also at the same time, the cut that he does make is, to your point, probably not really beneficial, because he wanted to keep going fast and into the strikes area, which literally is, like you said, like what, a tiny little box against the wall. So ideally, he would kind of run up, try to, like I said, get Jackson backpedaling, and then just stop and just like stay here, and you just hit him. That's probably the best case.
Which, yeah, if I had waited for not watching it back, if I'd waited for a 1/10 of a second longer, is probably what would have happened. I don't know, I was like panicking for some reason because I was close to the wall.
Yeah. Yep. That's true, because he could have stopped there and peeled off. But yeah, I mean, just in general, that's kind of like we were saying. Patience usually works, where somebody will eventually get open. But it worked out for you there.
Yep. Yeah.
Got the point.
Oh, I thought that was gonna hit the ceiling. I'm not gonna lie. Good. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely need to trust my handler, specifically Mike Long, probably a little more in that kind of position or situation.
Oh, there's the
That's tough.
ceiling.
Sailor.
That's two ceilings.
That one's pretty
Yeah.
tough because it barely, like, it kind of
That
just
is
clipped it.
busted.
So that probably would have made it through on field 2.
Why didn't I hit Andy? Okay, I did hit Andy.
Come on. Yeah, give it to him. Mike. Where's you now? Ooh,
Ooh.
Scott. Scott caught that.
Oh, no.
Thanks, Jan. G.
Nice, it's little conservation of greatness there. Nice catch. End up
Mhm.
on the ground. Immediately just throw it into Jan.
Yeah, that was good D by Jan. Kind of sticking around.
Yeah.
Getting in the way there.
Right, recognizing that even if I had thrown it to Mike, I'd be put in a worse position anyway, so we could chill there for a little bit.
Oh, this was the stall one.
Right, yes, he calls
Yeah.
stall.
We call well. So all right, here we go.
Yeah,
The-
he calls timeout on stall 6.
What ends up happening is Joe throws this out,
Give it to Jan.
and it's downfield here. So two things. One, what people will do a lot here, and you'll hear people yell out "veteran move" as kind of a joke, but it's not exactly a joke because this happens a lot where somebody makes a great deep cut and somebody hucks it to him and it's great, but it's not quite in. So they just have to kind of like sit there and they're stranded while their entire team and the defense has to run up the field to catch up. So what you can do in this situation as Elliot is you land here, you look, and you're like, oh, literally nobody's here, and the person who is here is very tightly covered by a good defender. So like I have no options for probably my entire stall count. So I'm just going to call timeout. So at this point, you literally just say timeout. And what this does is it means, play stops. The position of the disc is exactly where you are and you have it. And, timeout happens and then everybody comes back and the offense sets up and so does the defense. So basically it just brings your entire, think of it in like video game terms. It just like snaps, it like glitches to the point where like you're ready to play. So that's why it's sort of like a joke that people say veteran move, because it actually is like that's what you want to do here. But he doesn't. So he caught it here and he stopped. Pat probably already started saying stall. So we'll say 49 at least.
He's not in though.
But again, takes a very long time. Joe does sort of try to get up there. And I'll make a little point there in a second. But what is happening this whole time as he's starting to run up and Paul's realizing that, like, oh, we have no options. It's probably high. Paul starts screaming, timeout, 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 timeout. And at some point, either Pat hears that or Elliot relays it, and Pat therefore hears it. But this is, as you can tell, we're already right at 57, which would be the time of stall. So it's very tough in this situation. I talked to Elliot a bit about it for a little while, because again, like I was saying earlier with stall, you're supposed to say stall blank, so that it's close to a second, but it's never going to be perfect. And it's hard to say when the timeout happened because Paul probably did start saying timeout at 6, but who knows if anybody heard it. And then
Can you call timeout if you don't have the disc? I thought only the guy with the disc could call timeout.
That's a really good point. I don't want to make any sort of a thing. I'm sure Mark or Kevin would know, but I am pretty sure that you might actually have to be the one with the disc now that you're saying that.
Because I think you actually have to make like a T with the disc in your hand. Is like the official sign of it, which is a little lame in my opinion, but I'm fairly sure that's like
what you do, yeah.
You do.
Yeah. I'll defer for that. I think that might be true. But again, even if he, relayed it and was the one that called it, whatever it is, that recognition of when timeout was is never going to be robot perfect. And that's why what ends up happening here is there's a lot of talking all about like what the stall was and what time it was and blah 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 blah.
Well,
and
Pat was not at 7. So Pat, the
right.
discussion happening here is Pat saying, "Hey, just so you know, you're gonna say we're gonna tap the disc, and I'm gonna say stall 7, and that's all the time you have to throw it. Like I just want to
Well-
make sure you're aware of that going in, so you don't get mad.
Well, so he in Pat's thing he wasn't even gonna say stall because he said 6. So like he basically said like in his mind
Oh,
5,
sure. Yeah.
6. So he's coming in on which is stall.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's saying is like this is effectively a stall because I said the word 6, therefore I'm coming in on 7, which means it's a stall. And that's what the talk ends up resolving itself to, is that Pat will say stall 7 just to give that extra half second of like, technically the rules, blah, blah, blah. Which I think is the best way for this to get resolved because, like I said, nothing's ever going to be robot perfect, and it's too hard to determine that it was. So I think this was a good situation.
What the heck is going on?
But
Also, I think Elliot did call a timeout there. I think Paul told him to, but Paul didn't call a timeout. Now that I'm actually thinking about it, it was
Yeah.
all Elliot.
okay. And that's good that you were there because I know for sure from the side that Paul was running up saying timeout. So Elliot probably did hear that. But
He might even made it to you with the disc. He might have been following full
What's
protocol.
going on?
yeah. But yeah, so that ends up happening. And then we'll get there at some point. But one thing I did notice
What?
is the secondary option that isn't as good as just timeout, but happens very often as well. So Elliot catches it here,
I mean, I guess
and he waits for a second. This one's very covered, probably not going to be his thing. But then Joe comes here. So two things. One, Joe kind of does it, but a little bit laggy. What you ideally want to do here is Joe comes up and runs to basically where he is, maybe a step or two more, but just stops directly and just literally is a reset because he knows that Elliot's probably already at like 4 or 5. And so he comes, gets this reset no matter what right here. And then so Elliot swings it to him. But what Elliot can do once he releases that is just immediately book it this way. And one-on-one, almost anyone, this is going to be nearly impossible to cover. And even if they do somehow cover it or see that coming when it goes up or whatever and they stop, then you just take one step that way and go this way and you're wide open. So this is the ideal kind of thing, is you give it to someone very close to you and then you just go one direction and this person knows whatever direction they're going. That's the point. So as a, hindsight 2020, that is definitely one thing that works really well in these situations.
Makes sense.
But yeah, so all this talking and timeout and blah 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 comes up. All right, and Pat comes in saying stall 6 or stall 7 to give that extra half second, and so taps in and Elliot just releases, which is perfect and within time, and ends up working. So
That's actually
I
a really
think-
nice throw. I thought that I got completely busted like in the moment, but I'm not sure like what I possibly could have done.
Could have
about
done.
That was a nice toss.
One thing from the sideline that I was noticing, the way that timeouts work, like I said, offense comes out and they get totally set and they just sit in their positions and they can't move once they say, yeah, we're set. So then defense comes on. They can do whatever they want. So from the sidelines, I was pretty surprised that both you and Andy didn't, or like you set up the way you did. You make sense because Paul is right here and you're trying to guard Paul. But you guys know that Elliot is dumping. So honestly, you can't do a double team. So it's a little whatever. But like, I don't know. I would probably try to guard Elliot way closer in this sense for dumps because that's the only thing he's doing is immediately sending something. So it's going to Paul or Joe basically, unless he tries to, like Jen's.
I think maybe we were a little bit hesitant because we just assumed he was going to be stall 7 turn the second he tapped it, so we weren't probably playing as heads up as we could have been.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like you said, yeah, you didn't really get too broken because that was, like what, you're gonna grow like 9 feet and stop that? Not really. So just a very good play from them in general, and then Elliot to get that off and know that he has to break immediately. So well played all around, and I was telling Elliot, I do think that was resolved as correctly as possible.
Yeah, no, I there was no hard feelings, I don't think, from my team about feeling like we got screwed or anything after that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Pat, Mike, I do think I was a little unhappy with how I played, so I think I sat at this point. Oh, no, I'm here. Good find, Angel. Scott in the corner again. This time I do reset it. Although she was a lot more open.
Another hammer from Andy. Andy was killing it this game. I remember telling him and Tim, actually. Andy had
Tim
like
had
5 assists or
Had a
something.
good
And
game too. Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, Tim had, I think, 2 or 3 or 4 points and an assist or 2 as well. Couple Ds. I feel like he does this kind of every year where it's wintertime, so he's not in the best of shape at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
But then you give him enough time, and like by the end of the season, like he's a naturally athletic guy, so he's in a lot better shape, and he's a real contributor.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I always try to tell my teams too, is like, just get running. Like, get out there. Treadmill, whatever it is, just get running. Like, not while playing. And
Yeah.
it's huge, like the improvement that you start to realize. So
For
shout
sure.
out
I mean,
cardio.
The game slows down a little bit too when you're not
Mhm.
like just breathing ragged the entire second half of a game.
Absolutely. Your brain's able to focus a little bit more on what's going on, not just I can't breathe or I got to catch up to my person, whatever.
Man just ran out of here with the speed of light. Where we at? We're at 8. Ooh, might be. I've been doing good all this time.
Ooh.
Yep, hustled it down. Good cover.
Put it down. Got him. Got Aaron in the center.
A good throw from Aaron.
Ball. Good defense by Mike.
Oh
Unfortunate.
no!
I feel like there's a little same team action going on
Yeah,
there.
I
They got
think
a little
Aaron.
scared of running into each other.
I think Aaron kind of gave it because he thought Jackson was gonna grab it.
Nice.
Scoober. Hammer.
Okay. Yeah, get that D. That phone is hot.
Keeping it on the sideline. It's a good force, Tim.
Oh,
That hurt.
over all the hands.
That was like an up close and personal view of it too.
Might be.
Yeah,
That's a
well,
tough catch.
a little high.
Yeah.
It's alright.
Way to get into the center. Joe's clogging the lane a teeny bit there. It doesn't even matter because
Hmm.
Tim's there in the break space.
He at least had the idea of like, don't get in the way, which is good.
Right?
Yeah, I think that was a strip.
Yeah. He had that pretty convincingly in his hand. It looks like, although he does take it from 4 yards behind where it got stripped.
Yeah, he just picked it up where it ended.
Yeah. Anderson the Tim.
Yep. Yeah, this was the stretch where you guys just got like 5 points in like 2 minutes, and it was like almost all Andy and Tim.
I don't know what it was. It almost felt like the other team was confused or on their back feet, or like there's a couple fast break type situations here where they weren't quite set as well. But
Hmm.
really interesting end of the game.
Oh yeah, momentum's a pretty big deal. People, I mean, it's not because it can be overcome pretty easily, but it is because of the fact that it really does get in your head. Like if your team makes some mistake that then results in a quick score, it's like ooh, and then on top of that, you guys go and score again. It's like oh no, what's going on? And so you have to really kind of be pretty mentally strong to be like, all right, no, we're fine. Like that just happened, and we're just gonna keep doing our game. We're gonna win. So definitely a big thing.
Another good pull though, good defense, and we clocked
The fan, Higgy's fan, coming at it again.
So I think
Oh yeah,
what we have said we play is you take it, you try and like approximate
Oh,
where it
so
hit the
there's jams
ceiling
out
and
there?
take it directly below. What we've been doing sometimes is just taking it where you pick it up. So it's almost like you can do either. I'm not sure if we've ever
DJ's
like
working on it.
legislated which one it needs to be.
There it is.
Yep. The I think the way like that I've always noticed it and I guess I understood it
Trying really
was
tough.
since that obviously wasn't a pull, it just yeah, like you approximate where it hit in the ceiling and that's kind of where you take it. Um but I know that yeah, people have been doing two things. They've been taking it like you said where it landed and then also uh I think Kai's team or Kai or somebody was saying that since it hit the ceiling, it's at the center, and
Go.
that
Yeah, I think
I
that
believe is
happened to my
definitely
team against Kai as well.
yeah, and that I definitely believe is not the case because
Right.
you know, in like a weird situation, you could kind of do that as like a punt almost, and like just you know
Send it.
throw it in the ceiling, but
Mhm.
uh,
Man.
yeah. So I think while it's not a pull, you try to do where it hit the ceiling. When it is a pull, it is just always at half.
Ooh, a little bladey.
Oh,
Or not little bladey, little hot.
laser, yeah. Yeah, if that had like, you know, a
A little
tiny bit
float
more
on it.
float,
Yeah.
Elliot had that all day.
'Cause they were on the same page there for sure.
hmm Man, Pat is like, I didn't even realize it
Pat
while
is
watching.
Ubering every single
Yeah,
time he hits the disc.
it's crazy. You
That's a
guys just
tough
gonna do a
throw.
full scooper point? Oh,
I think that was like just like a super bladey backhand
oh,
from Andy.
maybe.
But oh, looks like he couldn't
Oof,
quite get there.
overthrown. Oh,
That's tough.
yeah, that's fourth quarter fatigue right there for sure. Just kind of
Dan's coming back.
mentally looking for the next throw, but
Scooper
Didn't.
for the point. Allison draws 6 defenders.
yeah, literally drew a three over there.
I just buy
Well, two and then another one.
There is
TikTok. That it smells like
a guy who I follow. He's like an old time like strength and conditioning coach
So I bought two
who
of them.
he always talked kind of to your point before about getting in shape is that a lot of being in shape is like being able to manage your own like body, your heart rate, your
I
breathing,
got it
everything,
yesterday.
and like practicing
And
doing stuff just like when you're physically tired
conference notes.
will make you more clutch and more like consistent in clutch situations because you're just better like be able to calm yourself down. You're not as like elevated
Yep,
when
one hundred
stuff comes.
percent.
Raspberry.
And I know that it's not like actually where it comes from, but when people do the whole like he's got ice in his veins, like that concept, I like to equate it to actual ice baths, which don't get me wrong, I hate, and I like never do them, but they're so good for you, and that is one of the big main advantages of them. Where if you do ice baths, you can train your body to get very good at just like, wow, that was a bullet. He threw that like a submarine pitcher. But you get really good at training your body. Just be like, all right, I'm fine. I'm like, you know, I'm not. I don't need to go into shock. It's very cold, but I'm fine. Like let's really
Just to
reset.
be clear, I don't like do any of this like training in my own personal life. I'm generally like not a super clutch person, which is something I heard that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, 100%.
I might come up with a weird taste like, oh, it tastes like strawberry wafers or.
Wow.
it
Yeah.
tastes like
Definitely seems a little like either fatigue or just kind of
Yo plays
like
strawberry shortcake.
momentum. They're a little down on themselves.
Strawberry shortcake.
Mhm.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's definitely Yo play yogurt. And I'm not gonna lie.
Oh no.
That's the game.
Yep, right there. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, that's surprising. But they definitely had that little bit of fatigue at the end there and kind of let up on it. But it was a good game. I remember watching it and being like, yeah, I'm impressed with your team and kind of coming back at it at the end and all that.
Yeah, definitely. I was really happy with us. We played a good game, and once I stopped throwing, we were able to catch up and come away with the dub.
Nope. But alrighty.
We're gonna keep. All right, yeah. Good talk. Good
Think-
recording.
Think that'll be it.
All right.